I want to introduce you to my friend, Mike. I've known Mike for a really long time. He was a groomsman in our wedding 30 plus years ago, and for the past several years, he has been connected with nonprofits, ministries that are trying to bring justice to some places where there's very little of that present. Mike is an artist, he's a videographer, and he is a brilliant storyteller. And he's more than just a hired videographer. He becomes personally invested in the missions and the people that these organizations go to serve. Like he's all in. He's been to more countries than any of us will probably visit in our lifetime. Many of those countries you would never recommend someone to go, and more about that in a moment. But Mike was with me when I was part of a group that went down to Haiti to work with a ministry down there called Healing Haiti. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but one of our responsibilities while we were there was to fill up a small tanker truck with water, and then we would go into a place called Cité Soleil, and we would make different stops, and every time we'd stop, people would come out with whatever container they had to collect water. And probably the most nerve-wracking part of the entire trip was the night before one of our water deliveries. Mike comes to me and he says, "Hey, you want to take your team on a little adventure tomorrow?" And immediately I'm like, hold on, because adventure to Mike means something completely different to the rest of the world. Mike is a complete risk taker. I am a rule follower, not to mention that I feel responsible for the safety of this team. And so I look at Mike, and also front and center is the direction from the leadership at Healing Haiti. They're like, okay, when you go on a water delivery, never lose sight of the truck. They're like people, youth, elderly people, they're gonna come with a 5-gallon bucket and they're gonna fill it up, and then they're gonna want you to carry it for them back to where they live. And they're like, feel free to carry the bucket, but as soon as they turn off the main road, do not lose sight of the truck. You put the bucket down and you turn around and come back. That is ringing in my ears when I look at Mike and I'm like, is this little adventure safe? And Mike's response was, oh yeah. I'm like, oh no. So next day we get done doing our water stops, and that's when Mike was like, hey, everyone, come follow me. And we proceed to follow Mike, and he starts snaking us through a maze of little shanties that people are living in. And after about 5 minutes, of course, what is echoing in my head is like, we've lost sight of the truck. We've lost sight of the truck. How are we gonna get back? We have lost sight of the truck. And against my better judgment, about 5 more minutes of walking, we emerge on this little peninsula, and on one side of us is the beautiful blue turquoise ocean, and on the other side of us is this shining light for Jesus, this new church off in the distance that the church that I was a part of at the time had given money to help build. It was a thing of beauty. And Mike spent a season of his life trying to bring justice to the people of Haiti. These days, he's taken up a different kind of injustice, and that is the war in Ukraine. He has partnered with a group of people who had their that's not right moment, and they just absolutely felt compelled to do something about it. And so this group of people, they have been collecting medical supplies, and not just, bandages and gauze. I mean, we're talking prosthetics, we're talking surgery tools, and they have filled shipping containers full and delivered them over to Ukraine. But they didn't just deliver them, they traveled there themselves to help deliver these supplies to local hospitals where both soldiers and civilians have been injured. And even to the point where they traveled to field hospitals on the front line to make sure those soldiers could be cared for. Literally, the Russians were 200 yards that direction. You might call this group fearless. You might call them foolish, and you'd both be right. But what's undeniable is that when God puts an injustice on Mike's heart, he does something about it. He feels moved to do something about it. And actually, I want you to hear from Mike. He rarely is out in front of the camera, but he sat down, recorded himself, shared his thoughts right before he was going to leave Ukraine after being there for a month. So take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I tell stories. I've worked with several nonprofits over the years. It's been 14 years now. Traveled all over the world to help spread the word on how they're working, impacting people, making a difference. I started with Haiti, moved on to Kenya. The list is long and complex. Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, Senegal, Cuba, and of course, Zimbabwe, and now Ukraine. I'm here in Ukraine right now. I've been here for nearly a month, and I'm getting ready to board a train here in a couple hours and start the long 3-day trek home, and looking forward to sleeping as much as I can. The thing that I see often, and I know and understand why it has to happen, is that you come in fast to fix a problem and leave quickly. And that's necessary sometimes, but what is really more necessary if you have the chance is to really embed yourself in the community, to become friends with the people that you're getting ready to partner with to make a difference. I consider the farmers I've stayed with overnight in Zimbabwe and become, part of their group, friends of mine. I know every time you come back, it's giant hugs and lifting you up in the air, and that's not for show, that's for real. This will get brought up quite a bit tonight, and it's about being present. Being present is more important to people that are looking for change than anything. If you're present, you're 90% there. I'm going to tell one quick little story. When I was working in Haiti for years in the slums right outside Port-au-Prince, the hardest slums in the world, last year it was called by the UN the most dangerous city on the planet, Cité Soleil. I worked there every day. When I was in country, I worked there for years, but I was really dying to spend a night there just to see how life works in this chaotic group of humanity that is just kind of trapped near the ocean. And they're the unseen, the untouchables. If you were born in Cité Soleil, you didn't have a chance to get out of Cité Soleil. People knew where you came from. They would never hire you. As soon as you left the community, everybody just kind of could tell you were from that area. So I was able to kind of coerce a board member to let me stay in Cité Soleil overnight. Everybody was dead set against it. For years I've been trying. And she said, yeah, just stay overnight. Just do it. Just stay in the clinic and you'll be safe and it'll be fine. And of course I didn't stay in the clinic. I found some local gang members that I knew, and we just went walking around for hours till midnight, just walking the streets, saying hello to people. And somebody came up from behind me and grabbed me and shook me. And I was a little startled. It was dark, hot. And I turned around and he was yelling at me in Creole. And what he was saying was, "This is so good. This is so good. You're not afraid of us." Just by showing up and being present, I proved that they're not bad people, that they're not evil, that they're not the boogeyman that they've been told since they were born. They grew up in the wrong place. They're worthless. They're the untouchables. And then just by being present, I was able to show that not the entire world thinks that. That's when things start to change.
What is it for you? I doubt God is going to send you to Somalia or Ukraine or Haiti anytime soon, but we know what our calling is, and that is to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. So what is your holy discontent? I mean, some of you It comes to mind immediately. It's been a burden for you for a while, and you've already been leaning in to try to be some small part of a solution. You're doing for one what you wish you could do for all. But for others of us, if something doesn't come to mind, that's an area of prayer. Asking God to show you, open my eyes, soften my heart to the very things that break your heart, Father. And be ready. Be ready to respond. Be looking for opportunities. Be intentional about putting yourself in places and around people that God can do that in your heart. Ultimately, I want us to continue to be a church who wants to do more than just learn about Jesus, but live more like Jesus, because it's living more like Jesus that makes all the difference in the world, both in our life and in the lives of people around us.